skin, so gorgeous. We thank the life gorgeous. Thank the life gorgeous. I love the life gorgeous. Its torso is so tight.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Life Gorgeous. My name is Kreger. Some people call me Lord Kilby. I'm a good person, and I like to share my magical life in hopes of improving your life. I like to have friends on. I like to have comedians on. These are repeat visitors. It's a tandem. It's two people. It's not just one. Please welcome into the ethers, the Sklar Brothers.
Thank you. Kreger's. Kilby, we love you, dude.
What are the ethers? I don't use that word. What is that, ethers?
The ether, I feel like the ether just, it hovers somewhere above our brains.
Right. I thought the ether was the cord you plug into your computer.
That's an Ethernet. That's it's a different thing altogether, Craig.
No, I was going to say, bring him into the studio, but of course it's not in studio. It's remote. And that's the only reason I'm doing a podcast, because I don't have to have people come into my mahogany panel den. Because if I have you guys come into my mahogany panel den, we are officially drinking.
Oh, yeah. Which, by the way, I'm not against. I'll take a highball or a lowball. You go highball when they go lowball.
We go lowball. There's a 10-minute routine we could write right now. The other thing that is leaping out at me, and Jayson, you can see this. Randy was leaning forward, and there was some dramatic sunlight on his face, which I thought... It creates a mood that everything you say is more dramatic than what we're going to say.
True. Like God has touched it.
Exactly.
Just the light comes.
He has the James Earl Jones light when he goes in deep. It's like,
I am your father.
Okay, so I think I told you guys I had a bunch of fun questions, and some of the times I do this with my buddies. My friends from work, and I have a friend in New York named Hank Perlman, who is just so you guys know. You ever heard of Hank Perlman, Hungry Man?
Yeah. Yeah.
He came up, when he was at Wyden and Kennedy, at the ad agency in Portland, he came up with the This Is Sports Center campaign.
Unbelievable.
So, he's a friend of mine for like 30 years, and we've had some fun discussions. So one of the things I like to do is I live above the fray. Basically, it's the mahogany panel den and then a French restaurant and back. I rarely interact with human beings unless I'm at a supermarket. So but I wanted to talk about pet peeves to see how you guys, who I believe are calm and level-headed, but very funny, I want to see how you handle these things and if it bothers you. Okay?
Sure. Let's hear it. Let's go.
Valet parking. Do you like to valet park? What?
Hate it.
Tell me why.
Hate it. Because so there's valet parking, and there's some restaurants where you're like, all right, we're going to Dan Tana's, valet park the damn car. It's right here. You have to do it. Yes, it's a lot of money, but show up and be there and hang out with the maitre d'. Like, you don't need to be circling around. Like, in LA, there's valet parking at a 7-Eleven.
Exactly.
I'm like, come on, guys. What are we even doing? I see an umbrella and a podium near a 7-Eleven. I'm like, what are we even doing, guys?
Right.
I'm also like, wait, so I'm paying now, like you're making a suggestion. The suggestions on the service payment are like 20%, 22%, 26%. I don't even get to choose like 18. And then you're also charging me when I'm driving up.
Right.
And you're like, okay, so all right, valet parking was going to be like $7. And they're like, it's 12.
Yeah.
And we only take cash. No human beings hold cash anymore. What human has $12 in their wallet?
Exactly. Yes. I like this because I have some friends. Now, I have two reasons. One of my friends says, why pay for something you can do yourself, which is park? But I have a couple friends. We'll go to a bar, a cool bar, and I said, I'm going to drop you guys off, and I'm going to go find parking a few blocks away. I like to be away from the riffraff. Blah blah blah. No. We want to walk in with you, Craig. We want to walk in with you. I said, okay, then wait outside. But I've told this story before, but the other reason is I went to years ago when I was at ESPN, I was down in South Beach for the first time. I took a cab to a Miami Heat game. After the game, I walked out of the arena and I said, I'm not going to catch a cab here. I'm going to go down a few blocks to catch it away. And I walked by this parking lot and all these Maseratis were coming out and they were being scraped. They were sparking the bottoms because the valets were purposely messing with the Maseratis. So I do it for two reasons. They're not going to mess up my big black Lexus. Can I say Big Black Lexus sedan?
I think that's my favorite Joni Mitchell song, Big Black Lexus.
Do you know the song by Grace Jones, Pull Up to the Bumper Baby? Or not?
I don't.
You've never heard that?
No.
Oh.
I know Demolition Man.
Okay. Yeah.
By Grace Jones.
Pull up to the bumper, baby, with your big black limousine. Pull up to the bumper, baby. Drive it in between. So anyway.
Something tells you that's not about parking a car at all.
It's about valet parking.
We ventured off. Okay, so we agree on valet parking. I don't like to do it for multiple reasons. But if your wife has heels on, you I guess you have to drop her off and go find parking.
Go find parking. Also, you get a lay of the land. You know, if you're that type of person, it's like, I need a lay of the land. Like, where are we? What's over here? Who's living this close to where we are?
Right.
And then you kind of figure all that out.
Little heads up, if you ever want to go to the Ritz-Carlton in Palm Springs, it's on Frank Sinatra Drive. It's up a hill. It's got a great view.
Yeah.
But I think it was about $30 to valet. There's no self-parking.
Insane.
So you might have to park down a ways away and take an Uber or Lyft up.
No, and that's still less expensive. No, you have to park up in Idlewild and take a cable car down.
Exactly.
Take the tram
just
down
onto the restaurant. Yeah,
which actually makes a hell of an entrance.
Yes. It's called Edge Steakhouse. I've been there once at the Ritz-Carlton. I like to go out to drink. I don't know if you guys, I think I have that. I think I have to save that question. I think it's in the Life Gorgeous quiz. I just want to know, because you guys are married with kids, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you guys, you guys don't go out as much.
I mean, our life is kind of out when we go out to do sets of comedy. We're out. So it's like a lot of times we're out. We love being out. I love hanging out with friends. I mean, there's when you go out to do a set of comedy, there's two things. There's going out to perform and whatever you've created, unwrapping for the audience that is there. That's half of it. And the other half is hanging out with your friends who are comedians. It's like, to me, if you love it, it's great. If you're a miserable human being, it's terrible. But it's like, it's maybe cathartic, but you know.
Right. And do you guys drink after a set?
Yeah, sometimes. Yes. After a set, not before. After
Obviously,
a set.
Right.
Usually it helps. It's like a great, especially when we're on the road and you do an hour-long set, 10 minutes, whatever it is. You need something to kind of land the plane that is you as you're circling it, as you're in the ether.
Right.
You're flying around, especially coming home to a quiet house too. That's like calm. You have to like bring yourself down.
Yeah. No, I think one of my favorite things to do, which was, when I did the CBS show, I got a kick out of doing it, but I think other people, there's no reason to say Leno or anybody, but they really like performing on stage. And he told me he didn't drink, but I got a kick out of doing the show, wearing that and not changing back into my street clothes, wearing the suit, go right to Mastro's and hanging out with Dennis Farina and having a martini. So I also enjoyed, there's the hosting, which is satisfying, but I need to tell you, this is what it is. I was going to say Kilby likes being Kilby. A guy at ESPN told me, a reporter, I told this recently, he said during the 90s, he had to go to Chicago to cover the Bulls, the dominant Bulls in the playoffs. And he said, it was fun. Yeah, I ended up one night bar hopping with Ahmad Rashad. I said, how was that? He goes, let me just put it to you this way. Ahmad likes being Ahmad.
He loves being Ahmad.
I think it's a fun way to live, right?
Yeah.
What if you went up to Ahmad Rashad and you're like, "Are you Felicia's husband?"
Yeah, exactly.
And then he probably would not like that.
Right.
He probably would not like that.
No, but you're right. so that statement, Ahmad likes being Ahmad, is basically saying you like your life. You're happy with who you are.
Yes.
And that's a great place to be.
But what you're talking about of like going out to Mastro's, if you were you go to the smokehouse, Larry Sanders, Hank would go to the smokehouse afterwards. But I mean, there's something great in that, because the beauty of what you did, and we were lucky enough to do it a couple times with you, is you tape the show in the afternoon, for those who don't know.
5 o'clock.
And it's in the can. 5 o'clock, it's done. You feel good about what you did. Now go celebrate before the rest of the world gets to see as it's put together by the great people who make the show. It's like this wonderful, you send this, message in a bottle, and then it reaches its audience like several hours later.
That's a good point. And I like that. Even when I worked in local TV in Monterey, I would drive to this studio and I would do comedy in local TV, and it would go out in this safe environment. Like, you guys got to go out to the stand-up places, all the stages and stuff, which is it's not as controlled, obviously, as a studio.
No.
But it was so easy for me to drive to the studio and then do the comedy, and then it's safe. All this other stuff, when I was first on a movie set, I was like, oh my God, are they spending money here? Holy buckets, all these people,
Yep. Yeah.
So anyways, more pet peeves. Do you guys have an opinion of pedestrians and crosswalks, or pedestrians in general? Do you have any opinion?
I almost hit someone the other night. Getting my car out of the Burbank airport. I had valeted it overnight. I was with my wife and my daughter. We were coming back from San Francisco doing shows. Everyone was mad at everyone. The flight had been delayed. I get in the car. I'm mad. I turn it on. Oh no, I turn it off. Because just by nature, you go to press the button and the guy already left it on. So now I turn the car on, frustrated, turn it back on, turn and drive, lurch forward, almost hit a dude who walked in front of my car. He looked at me like I was completely in the wrong. I'm like, I don't know if I'm completely in the wrong. Bro, you walked in front of a car that is clearly going to go.
Yeah.
Crosswalk, you got to pay attention. I mean, I think people are just like, I'm done with paying attention. It's everybody, the pedestrians are like, when I walk across a crosswalk, I look out at the cars coming and I say to myself, he's not going to see me. No way is this woman going to see me. Yeah. Let them pass. It's like you can't assume that anybody. We were talking to a friend of ours who said he was walking across the street and there was a red light and a woman was coming down. It was like a incline coming down, and she hit him. Red light, and she hit him. Yeah, he had the right of way. You have to assume that everybody's going to make the mistake.
Yeah, I'm a pedestrian most of the time, and I'm one of those guys that even though I have the right of way in the crosswalk, I don't want to stop this big mechanical vehicle. I wave them through. If they stop, I will either sprint across or I will still wave them and run behind them. Now, I'm different. Yeah. I'm a different breed of cat this way, but I don't like, this is just everyone being in their own world. I walked with a friend who went out just the way you're describing it, and he said, well, we have the right of way. California, a pedestrian in a crosswalk has the right of way. It's fine when you get hit, you're going to get hit. So just chill out, be aware. I think it's from playing basketball and just being aware of my surroundings, seeing the floor. Seeing the crosswalk. You have great court vision. It's like, you got to understand, hey, there was an unbelievable commercial for the NBA. This is, I couldn't believe it. I'm like, did Wyden Kennedy come up with this commercial? It was like someone trying to get across a crosswalk with traffic coming, and then another person from up above, they showed another person kind of got into an argument with the car, and it allowed someone to walk across, and they drew it up with, kind of illustration like it was someone setting a pick. Like man. The person set the pick for the other person to go around, and I was like basketball in life. Exactly. This person set the pick for this person. It's just a brilliant idea. Just to let you know, Randy, Phil Jackson have said that basketball is a metaphor for life, and life is a metaphor for basketball. We don't want to get too deep here on the Life Gorges, but let that one sink in. Sure.
I will. He said that. He said that while high on ayahuasca.
Oh my God! I mean, it was the guy. I met him a few times. He was classic. Oh my Lord!
Just him and Bill Walton hang out in 1978.
Right.
The damage. Those guys were doing Burning Man before Burning Man ever existed.
I just want you to know, I worked in the CBA, and the coach was this guy named Charlie Rosen, who's actually a basketball writer, and he was friends with Phil Jackson. He wanted a job. He was a writer, but he wanted to get into coaching, and he was a manager for the Albany Patroons when Phil was there, and then he coached the Savannah Spirits when I was the radio play-by-play man. But he lived in Woodstock, New York. So I was up there at his house once in Woodstock, New York when I was working in the CBA, and he had written a book called Maverick, which was the Phil Jackson story. That's how they met. They're very good friends. And he said, I was reading it at his house. I go, this is fascinating. He goes, yeah, good luck getting a copy. You can't get it. The publishing house went out of business, but it's a good book. But I'm reading it, and he's talking about one of it, in the NBA, rookie year, second year, summertime in Malibu, he's hanging out, and he has a fling with a famous actress, but they won't say who the actress is in the book. And Charlie wouldn't tell me. But I
Who do you think it was?
Susan Anton. I don't know if you remember Susan Anton.
Of course.
But I believe it was Susan Anton.
I want it to be Grace Jones. Or
Grace Kelly.
Wait, the best comment about Phil Jackson was by our buddy Adam McKay, the great Adam McKay, brilliant writer, director. Didn't he say that he thought Phil Jackson was just three young boys on each other's shoulders just because the shoulders are too high?
Like his body moved differently.
He looked like he's wearing the shirt, but he left the hanger in the shirt.
Right. The greatest coat hanger ever. He did we liked him. So I'm older than you guys, but I saw him play with the Knicks in the playoffs, and he would go in. We all made fun. He would harass the inbound player. He would be there for and we go, look at his arms. Look at Phil Jackson. He's pressuring the ball as they inbound it. It was so funny. But
which is it's the intangible. Like this guy, that's like how he was known. This guy, and his coach somewhere when someone wasn't given effort, when Walt Clyde Frazier is just getting another fur coat tailored, his coach comes in and is like, look at Jackson. He's in there trying to harangue the
exactly.
inbound. He's diving on floors. He's harassing the inbound.
What was one of his simple nicknames? You guys remember? It's not very creative, but you remember? Action Jackson. That's
Phil Action Jackson.
Not that exciting.
I didn't know that.
I love how this is what I like. We bring up a pet peeve and we go talk about Phil Jackson or the Smokehouse. This is what I wanted today. Other times I'm very organized and linear.
This is what we needed. This is the conversation we needed.
By the way, I forgot to thank you guys because I'm driving out to the desert. You guys, we were recording this nice and early, so I really appreciate it because usually I don't do it until at least 10 a.m. So you guys are great. Grocery shopping. I'm the pet peeve. So I'm on a mission. I have it mapped out. I already know the 8 items I'm getting before I go in there, as opposed to floating and looking. Your thoughts on the floaters in the grocery store?
I mean, they're almost like pedestrians who don't watch what's going on. The floater's into other people's area like 7 times. The floater has to, excuse me, I'm coming through with a card. Sometimes the floater will have headphones on, and now that you can't even reach the person. The floater is an obstacle to be overcome. Yeah,
and
you want to get in.
And the floater always has their cart in the exact center of the aisle.
Correct.
So there's no way to get through either side.
Yeah. And I bumped into them with my little basket because I'm not going to ask them to move because they'll, what? Which way should I go? So I just kind of go because I know where the Wheel of Brie is at Trader Joe's and Whole Foods. I'm in and out. And they
front left.
So I don't know. So are you guys saying you probably don't shop? You probably have your wives shop. But if you shop, do you have your list? Are you organized?
Yes,
I have a list. Organized. All right, here's how I do it. I put it in my notes section of my phone so I can delete each one. So the list goes down to nothing, and you watch it dissipate. You feel accomplished.
How satisfying is that? I mean,
most satisfying.
This is like a Red Holzman offense, moving the ball.
Yeah, that's right.
This is like a Pat Fitzgerald locker. I mean, excuse me. Why would I even?
No, this is someone's going to get hurt.
The other thing about a floater, I will say this about a floater: you can't be more than 8 feet away from your cart. If you're 12, 14, 16 feet away from your cart,
other people should be allowed to take stuff out of it. Other people should be allowed to take stuff out of it. You go back down and say, I like it has to be, you have to have military precision. There was a famous story about an Israeli offensive where people were taken and hostages were taken on a plane, and the Israeli army went and got them. It was in Entebbe, which was a sort of the raid on Entebbe. You want to go? You got Trader Joe's. It's got to be the raid on Entebbe. In and out. Nobody hurt. Right. Nobody gets hurt. You check. You got to know where everything is. Start looking at this is it. You have your list. Start looking at the lines and say, okay, where am I going with this?
Yeah, and I actually do the shopping because I'm kind of a perfectionist, but I don't go at certain times. There are days that I would not go there. So I'll go early in the morning on a Tuesday morning, and I don't really have to fight with lines. But sometimes when I need that special cab on a Friday afternoon, that special cab that they may have, maybe it's Dow from Paso Robles, Dow Cabernet. They have a nice price on that. I will go in there and
and you'll go. I was going to say the best wine story is Jay on his honeymoon. It involves all of this stuff.
I was in Chile with my wife. We were chilling in Argentina, and first day of a 22-day trip. Second day, we go to a winery, and the pours are massive, and we're drinking like glasses of wine. And they take us down to the cellar, and we look at all the bottles. I'm like, we should bring some of these back, but we're young, and so instead of buying a case and sending them home, I'm like, give me like 8 bottles. I'll just carry them. So I'm like carrying 8 bottles for 22 days. I give them out to friends. Randy's one of them.
I get one.
I'm like, listen, this is a special bottle from this winery that is in Chile. And I explain it's outside of Santiago. We go on and on and on. 2 days after I'm home, I'm in Trader Joe's. I look down.
There it is.
$4.99. $4.99.
That's classic. That's classic.
Terrible. Terrible. Horrible. It's like he was a drug mule, but bringing Tylenol PM in his.
Yeah, I didn't need to shove it up my ass and take it across the border, but I did.
By the way, later on, I do have questions about Clint Eastwood, and I might ask you about the mule, but that's coming up as we're so organized. Do you guys, with your buddies, your stand-up buddies, after a show and you're down there, do you guys argue politics or do you avoid it?
We used to. We used to all the time. It was fun. So we have a friend in Detroit who is a lawyer who represents, he's worked for the NFL. He's worked to try and get players compensation, older players, health benefits, and all this other stuff. He's a great guy, Jimmy Acho. And he has about 50 guys on like an email listserv, a chain. And he literally brings up really funny and great subjects. And sometimes like there's the most political hot button issue of the day. He emails that to everybody. And for us, it's the most interaction we have with people whose political views are the farthest away from us, which I actually think is an important thing to connect with on some level, because Jay and I will argue one side. We have a few friends on there too that will argue one side, and other people are arguing the complete opposite side. And sometimes it gets heated, but we always try and use humor in a way that also, if you're going to come after us, we've done the roast battle. So you're messing with the wrong people, because we'll make the point and we'll also make fun of you. But the point is that like in the end, sometimes we're like, they're actually making a good point. I see why this is coming from this side. You kind of understand the why rather than just the point. And like Jay, there are great people on like Mike Ditka has flown into that, like this little email group.
You guys are aligned politically with Ditka. That's kind of obvious.
People know. It is strange. Like, we believe everything. Like, Ditka is like very pro-choice. He's a huge BLM guy. I mean, he's like, he's a borderline socialist.
Yeah.
And so, you kind of have to bring him back.
Well,
from the
he
edge.
does vacation. People don't know this because it would ruin his image. He vacations with Michael Moore, obviously.
He does.
He did.
And Mike Ditka actually famously said, every child should be aborted. He said that. He said that out loud.
He said that to Ricky Williams in a wedding dress.
And that is just...
So, no, here's my reaction. First of all, I was raised not to talk politics, so I don't talk politics. I also have this other thing where if you guys are sending emails, I don't know what these people, what their jobs are besides your lawyer friend is. Something they say could in fact, if they didn't trust everybody on the email chain, they could lose their job if they say, screw that, let those people blah blah blah.
Right.
So it's a little dangerous. But I think my thing was, I worked with some people that were zealots and others are very calm, and I like talking to the calm people. But on principle, when I'm working, let's not argue politics, because I thought it made them feel good, and I already feel good when I wake up. So if they score points, and I'm in agreement with them on things, but I just don't want to participate. Plus, I only have 7 writers and I want to work on the show. But I don't participate. And I'll tell you one of the reasons why. You guys probably are more patient than I am. Let's just say I'm talking to a guy, I make a legitimate point. Okay. And then he makes a point that's not that great, but he thinks he just scored the knockout blow.
That's right.
In his body language and his nostrils. Then I might projectile vomit. That's my issue. So I know the limitations. So if I make
understand.
A point, yes.
That's a great, it's funny that you say that, because, we used to do a little more political comedy in what we did, but in the last like 5, 6, 7 years, 8 years, 5 years, 7 years, we're like, it's not worth it, because we said on the whole, it would be maybe like 8 minutes of an hour long set that we do on a headlining set of comedy. We're like, it's rubbing certain people in our audience. The beauty of what we did, the fact that we had a show on ESPN, the fact that we guest host Jim Rome's radio show, we're in arenas where there are people of all political, leanings.
And this is airing next Tuesday while you guys are guest hosting for Rome. We call him Romy. Yeah,
Romy. Yeah, I love Romy.
I'd love to be on if you guys have time for me.
Yeah,
you're coming on. You're coming on. I love
you guys. Send me an invite. That's very nice.
Yeah,
we'll talk Vikings and Timberwolves for 20 minutes. No,
I'll talk Rudy Gobert till I'm blue in the face. Rudy Gobert's got to look at Victor Wembanyama and be like, "Wait a minute, what about me?
Well,
what about me?"
They're actually friends, but obviously, when they drafted Rudy, he was a project. He's not. Some big men are not as skilled as others. I mean, that's kind of obvious. And he's not as skilled, but he learned how to play D. And and he can.
Listen, Britney Spears ain't running up in Vegas and tapping Gobert on the back. Let's just say that right there. I mean, maybe you get a drunk Christina Aguilera will come up and try and tug at the back of his shorts.
Tony Braxton. I just like to reference. No, so that was good about the political stuff. I could see you guys being pretty calm and not raising your voice and all that kind of stuff, and that's good.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is silly, but it's for Craigers. I've avoided this in my. You guys are identical twins, correct?
Yes,
we are.
Oh, yeah. So these are cliches. These are cliche questions because I avoided it because they're so obvious. But now I want to entertain myself. And some people, you've probably heard these since you were a kid, but these are just basic questions. Let's see, where do I have it? Which one of you is funnier?
That's a common question asked to most identical twins.
Well, I just want to know if there are major differences. And let me preface this. I don't have an identical twin, obviously. I mean, but I have an older brother, Chris, who I'm close with, and he's opposite me. He was introverted. He was into science fiction. He loved Spock. He loved Star Trek. He's Spock, like no emotion. Lone valedictorian of his graduating class of 500.
Wow.
Wonderful calves. 6'3", brown hair, wonderful calves, good athlete, introverted. I said that. Software engineer.
I don't want to get into the Cavs specifically, but are they Michael Chang-esque? The Cavs of Michael Chang are perhaps maybe the greatest Cavs of all time.
It's interesting because I haven't seen his. The guys that jump out are Aaron Rodgers has nice calves. I saw him play golf with the shorts. Phil Mickelson likes his calves. Ray Allen likes his calves. But
you know, has no Deontay Wilder, no calves whatsoever. I mean, it's like just a femur straight down.
Oh, I swear. Lamar Odom was like that, but he'd wrap it with some padding or something. So I ask these questions. So the funny, I just want to know, these are just basic cliche. Do people say, is one guy funnier? Is one guy a better student?
So I think so. When we were young, and we're writing a show right now, and actually, this is we're doing a 2-man show about our identities, how we were switched when we were 6 weeks old, or we thought we were, and we don't know, and we spent 50 years trying to figure out if we are actually who we are, and whether that even means anything. And it turns out it meant more to our mother than it did to us, and that's kind of what the show's about being a parent. And there was a moment when we were younger, we were in great elementary school, and there was a chance to be accepted into this gifted program where it was extra class and some interesting stuff. And you kind of got taken out of the regular class and did some other things. And for some reason, they only picked me, Jayson, to go into this gifted program, which was, I think it was unfair. It was really unfair, and it was stupid, and it created a weird mental hierarchy that I don't think existed. But it forced Randy he became a harder worker, I think, through life,
interesting.
And more of he would just grind. Whereas I did a little bit less, and I wonder if that distinction created that separation.
I became the fourth line of every great hockey team. It's like, send this dude in, forecheck in the corners, like dig in, grind it out.
Yeah, because these questions, I don't know if you guys, these are just for the audience out there that they just kind of want to know, identical twins, are they competitive? I know they finish each other's sentences, blah, blah, blah. But then I was just thinking, because I actually met, there's identical twins I recently met, and one of them, they were filthy rich, and one of them, they drank the same amount, but one of them had a liver issue and the other one didn't. So I just kind of, this gets the agile mind going. Okay, so you've kind of answered the better student or not. Is one unhealthier than the other? Like, is one of you guys more of a junk food guy and one of the guys salmon and broccoli?
I think we both have tendency. Our dad was, when he was alive, he was like just a fantastic fat guy, like fun, funny, jolly, loving. Like he was like everything you want in a fat guy. Sports fan, loved to fish, like just he was that guy. But he died early because of, complications. One, he was only 67 years old. So you say to yourself, all right, we can't go down that road. We have to, if we want to live longer for our kids and our family and whatnot, we just can't go down that road. So we both try, but it's like you've been in the writer's room. They don't have like little bowls of broccoli and baby carrots in there. It's like junk food and stuff. So like the junk food, I want to get into the psychology of like what it means to grab an extra dark pretzel from Whole Foods, and they make these great ones now. And put it in your mouth. Why does that make you more creative? Why is that when you're, you know what I mean? Like
a handful of Reese's Pieces or whatever you grab.
So we have to watch out. But both of us are pretty junk food. I think I'm a little healthier than Jay.
Okay, I'm just saying. I want to get to the different. I could simply say, how are you guys different? That would be too easy. But I'm having a little more fun. Like, is one of you a better singer than the other?
Randy definitely is more adventurous with his singing.
Okay. I think I'm a little more confident, whether that's better or not. I mean, sometimes confidence is half the battle. I mean, look at Fred Durst. But I mean, you know what I'm saying? So I think like when we go out and our friends have the greatest thing ever. It's
Kilborn, you're invited to the next one.
Kilby, you're invited to the next one.
What is this? Tell me what it is again. What is it?
They have a karaoke RV that is greatest thing ever. They park it at a place. You go in there. and you just go in and it's the most fun ever. You're singing songs. It's a blast.
Right.
You're with friends. It's like truly, truly a beautiful time. And so I'll sing a bunch of songs, and I have a bunch that I'll go for more than Jay will. So
yeah, it's interesting. So I mentioned Alex Sulkin, and he used to love to go to karaoke, and he knows that I love music, but what he doesn't know is I have a nice singing voice, but publicly I sing off key, and I'm a perfectionist.
Great.
And my brother has a great singing voice. My dad had a great singing voice. My mom taught piano and sang, and she played the organ in the church. And so I come from a musical family. I love music. Yeah. I have not participated in karaoke. I did.
You would love it.
You know what I
Kilby,
do?
You're coming to the next one. You're coming.
This is what I can kind of do. And I'm not comfortable with karaoke. I don't need to be up there on stage, but I did this once on camera. I can sing with my brother because I'll listen to him and we'll sing some old songs, and I can match his and try to stay on key, match him. Right. Manilow was on the show. Manilow says, you're going to interview me, but I don't want to do it at the desk. I want to do it at the piano because I'm boring, and let's just talk. And we talked, and he'd do his little, you're going hopping, he'd do American Bandstand, and he'd do, you deserve a break today. He'd do the jingles that he'd write for the fast food. And then I said, you have a favorite song. I said, I always like saying, I said, listen, I'm a Manilow fan. I'm on a mana high when you modulate, when Manilow modulates, I'm on a mana high.
When he goes Manilow, you go mana high.
Yeah. Right. And he's like, you get me, Craig, you get me. And I said to him, as we're sitting at the piano, I said, these are all great songs, but there's one that's kind of underrated. It's not Mandy. That's a great song. That's not I Write the Songs. And I started singing it, and he matched me, and I went for about 10 or 20 seconds, laying beside me, lost in a minute. So glad you opened the door. You're my song. Music, somewhere in the night. Somewhere. Anyways, so we started singing it and building. And I might have to cut that part out, what I just did.
No, you won't.
Do not. No, you will not. That was amazing.
I won't let it happen.
So can I just
me, lost in the dream. So
can I say
glad
that
you opened the door. You're my song.
So here's what I'll say, Killer.
I'm sorry.
This is amazing. Like this in this podcast, Jay and I are very attentive this is the one thing we've learned how to do being part of a comedy team is to listen while you're talking and really pay attention to what other people are saying. So when you were hosting the show, really one of the best, I would say, for the Daily Show, you serviced the writing and the writers in such a way that I know people who wrote on that show when you were there, and they absolutely loved when you hosted the show because you felt like you elevated to the level of what they were doing. When we did the Craig Kilborn show, when you did that, unbelievable. And you put your flair and personality. But I feel like with this podcast and even on this show, Jay and I learned stuff about you in this podcast that we're doing right now that we never knew about. You are generously allowing so much. I didn't know your mom played piano and taught piano. I didn't know that you broadcast in the CBA or that you were in Monterey. So like we're learning so much about you and what you did. And I can now see the trajectory of how you got to where you are. People are like, where did Craig Kilborn came from? He just was on SportsCenter and that's it. No, you got to do local sports in Monterey and build your chops up and understand where you can take your chances. Then if you broadcast a game, you understand the flow of it. And you understand you can do highlights because you've done a live game. And then boom, it's like it all sort of builds. And I love that you can sing too. I love that
I can't really sing, but I can. It's fun because music. It's like Cameron Crowe writes to music. When I hear music, I get creative. I love it. And I don't force my Bill Evans or my jazz on people, but I have fun with. I'm referencing. I'm going to put something on Instagram this week, and I'm referencing the DeFranco family before your time. Tony DeFranco, Heartbeat, It's a Love Beat. That's from the 70s. You guys were not around then.
We weren't, but we were around, but we were not.
I don't know that we were
conscious.
Yeah, that was interesting. Well, thank you for that. Yeah, I have so many stories. Local TV in Monterey, I should tell you guys. So the news director who hired me had been a producer for Tom Brokaw at NBC. He was down in LA, the LA bureau. And then he moved up there with his wife, and they asked him to be the news director. He now owns the Carmel Pinecone, the newspaper. But he was the news director, and he let me do my stuff. And I did something in local TV, and one guy says, that's still the funniest thing you've ever done. Well, so basically, it was the Bay to Bridge series, The A's and the Giants, and it's on whatever NBC, and we're the Fox affiliate. So at the 6 o'clock dinner time newscast, no one's watching. They're all watching the World Series. So they toss to me, the news anchor tosses to me, and I say, well, none of true sports fans are watching the World Series. So you non-sports fans are just here. I just want it to be peaceful. I don't want to throw you off with sports. And then I showed a sunset, full screen sunset with ethereal music and I said, you're a rag doll going down, down, down. Rag doll. Going down, down, down.
That's so great. Oh my God. That's
and the
brilliant.
news director laughed his ass off and blah, blah. But anyways, I wish I had a tape of that. That was so silly.
We have this memory.
Yes. So that was, let me think if there's anything else. I was going to ask who's a better dancer, but that's like singing. Who has a better body between you two? You guys about built the same? You guys,
built about the same, but I think me.
Okay.
Me the same.
You haven't had these kind of questions in years, correct? These kind of identical twin questions?
Nowhere near. But I will say this. You brought up San Francisco and Oakland. Jay and I were just up in San Francisco. And San Francisco is going through a bit of an apocalypse right now. I don't know if you know this, but it's insane. We were trying to contextualize it for our stand-up audiences. And we were like, Oakland is like the divorced deadbeat dad who just found out that their ex-wife has an oxy addiction. They're excited. They're like
San Francisco. They're the only one. Oakland is the most happy that San Francisco is going down. They're like, yeah, bitch, we've had problems for decades.
We've been falling apart for years. Now do you want to come on over to the East Bay? Come on over to our side.
Yeah.
And Oakland really is the divorced deadbeat dad. I mean, they lost custody of their basketball team. It's now in San Francisco. The state took away their baseball team and is now allowing another city to raise it. I mean, they're really, I feel bad for them, but hopefully they'll clean themselves up and get into a 12-step program.
I don't know if you know this. San Francisco is my favorite American city. It's where I lived out of college. My brother was there. It's the city. It's not called San Fran or Frisco. It's called the city or San Francisco. And I haven't been up there 5 or 6 years. And we went up there with my nieces and we were all stunned at Market Street, 2 p.m. They're shooting up. So the homelessness and the crime is out of control. It's actually but they say it's bad everywhere now. It's getting worse in LA. But it's the most European city in America. I love the architecture. I love I hang out at Nob Hill at certain restaurants and bars, and I go down to a place called Bix down on Gold Street near the Transamerica building. I've been going there for years. So sounds like you guys know the city pretty well.
Love it. Absolutely love it. And just want, I mean, it's maybe a little too tech forward, Jay and I watched a guy like a tech bro in the park talking to a pigeon and said, I'll Venmo you the bread. I don't have any bread on me. I'll Venmo it to you. Check your account. There should be some crumbs in your account. And there was just a back and forth there. And so I think it's like gorgeous.
So I'll tell you a story. I'll tell you a story about San Francisco. Randy and I so the old Cobb's Comedy Club. We perform at Cobb's. The new one is great. It's big. It's very big. 400 seats. The old one used to be in the Cannery, which is down near Fisherman's Wharf, kind of near Girardelli Square, and it burned down very sadly. But the old one was small, like 170 seats, and comedians used to have to walk through the kitchen, which is at the back of the room, and then walk through the room and get on the stage. And after the show, we came through the kitchen and then into the restaurant, and sitting in a booth with the owner of the club, whose name was Tom Sawyer, which is its own hilarious thing. Sitting in the booth with Tom was Robin Williams. Yep. And Robin Williams used to come down unannounced, and sometimes he would get up and perform. Sometimes he would just come down to watch the comedians because he hadn't seen us before. And we sat down with him and we're like, I mean, dude, like, this is just the best thing ever. And thank you so much for even watching 5 minutes of our stand-up. And he said to us, I've never seen anything like you guys. He said, there's nothing exists like you guys. And he, of course, loved like the playfulness and he said it feels improvisational. Do you write it or is it just improv? And we explained it. And he said, I've never seen a team like that where there isn't like one person who's trying to rein another person in or where it's very contentious. You guys just have this kind of interesting flow. And that was for us, that was such a massive compliment to come from.
Yeah. I have not seen the chemistry you guys have since Willie, Tyler, and Lester.
It's good. Which one of us is the dummy?
What is it psychologically about doing old references, why it makes us feel good? I always wondered.
I mean, I think you probably, like us, absolutely loved the Gong Show. They would do things on the Gong Show, like Willie, Tyler, and Lester, and who's the other guy? Something in Madam. Who is the guy?
Yes. Yeah, I can't remember. Right.
Something in Madam. And like somebody would be on stage, like two people playing one slide whistle. And for some reason, whoever directed that show, they would literally just do a cutaway of Madam. And she would just be like,
that show. I remember an episode where every contestant came out and they would go, feelings, nothing more than feelings. So they never got through it. they all sang the same song. And it was like, I mean, that's
what a great bit. Great bit. They were just all
Chuck Barris had fun. Chuck Barris. So you know what that taught us in a major way? Watching Chuck Barris and then fast forward because people have asked us, who are your influences as a comedy team? And we used to say the Beastie Boys. And the reason why we said the Beastie Boys, even though they weren't a comedy team, is that they were having fun with each other on stage. It's why we loved watching you on SportsCenter, because we got this feeling in our mind that you guys were having fun, cracking each other up, making funny comments, going with the flow. And if we could project that on stage, that's what we love. Same vibe with Chuck Barris and the Gong Show. He and the panel,
judges, the panel, they were hysterical, and they were having a blast with each other. Like there were moments, some of the best moments on TV that we've ever had. Like I remember we did a show that Chris Hardwick hosted called At Midnight, and there'd be moments where we're taping this in front of an audience, and we're riffing with Chris and whoever else is on the contestant with us. And I would forget that we were on TV. I would just feel like we're just riffing with each other. And then, oh, wow, they recorded this show and it's going to air like like you said, like that night. Just amazing.
It is one of the highest compliments. People would say, it looks like you're having fun. I go, yeah, it is. It obviously is fun,
Yes.
I mean, other people, sometimes the models would say, hey, I like how you look. That's not just say it looks like I'm having fun. I don't need a supermodel to tell me they think I'm handsome. That does nothing for me.
Piper Peeraboo. I will only associate Piper Peeraboo with you. I don't think I've ever seen her.
Pronounced? I thought it was Peeraboo.
Peeraboo. Peeraboo. It's like peekaboo.
I mean, it was
but not.
I did it sometimes.
I just imagine you being like, coming on the show, Piper Peeraboo.
That's what Sulkin and Gold. Do you guys know Goldie, Julia Sharp, or not?
So Goldie, of course. Goldie, I love Goldie so much. So he worked on, we have this podcast, Dumb People Town, which is just, you should come and do that. If we do a live one in front of it, we're going to get you to come and do that with us too, where we talk about dumb stories that happen in the world and we just sort of break down and try and understand why. Why does this happen? And so we wrote it as an animated series for Amazon, wrote a whole season of scripts and animated it, and then it never went. But I believe someday it'll find the light of day someday. But Goldie was our showrunner, so we worked very intimately with him as he helped us work this thing out, and he's just brilliant.
These are my buddies, and they had a great time. I put them on camera because they're very funny, and they had a great time on camera. But they're great writers, but Sulkin especially really they would make fun because I would have to. At Monday, I would do the act one, and then the guest would come out in act two. But before he came out, I would list the guests for this week coming up, and they got a kick out of me because I would say with some of the smaller names, British hypnotist Paul McKenna, we got him. So they just to this day they think we got him.
We got him. How did we do it? How do we do it?
Pull that off? How do we?
But they would name there was some guy that Salkin tells the story, and there was some long ball champ, some guy who drove the golf ball further than anybody. Wasn't on the pro tour, but we got him.
We got him.
I'm shifting. I'm shifting to. I had just told people that I rewatched. I'm going to talk a little movies with you guys.
Great.
And I just. I rewatched a movie, and the listeners like when I tell them my favorite movies, not the top 5, but some of my favorite ones to rewatch. So I try not to take my top 5 like The Graduate and watch it very often, but certain movies, and I'm going to give them to you now. Tell me, like The Firm. Do you guys ever watch The Firm? I watch it over and over again.
I have watched The Firm. I have my rewatchable. Like as soon as it's on, I just there are those movies that you're like, I'm just going to watch this.
That's kind of what I'm talking about. But before you tell me your list. So I just rewatched. What's your favorite Tarantino movie? Because I preface this by saying I'm not a huge Tarantino fan. I'm a Tarantino fan, and I have not seen all of his movies, but I like him.
So I mean, I'll watch Pulp Fiction whenever it's on, wherever, whatever point I get into that movie, and I mean, I'll watch that anytime. But I think Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I have now seen that so many times. He lives in this world of like, this happened in history, but what if this happened this way?
Yeah.
And there's a bizarre fantasy element.
He also does something in that movie, which is kind of amazing, is he'll build so much tension towards a thing happening and then it doesn't happen. And I think that is just amazing, playing with what we expect as an audience, and I think that's great. That's when I watched.
Jay and I met him. We were hosting the Final Draft Awards, the script writing program that people have. We were hosting these awards, and we knew he was honored. He was being honored. So the bit we did for him was, some of the best part, a lot of writers in here, some of the best parts of writing are the notes that you'll get back from the studio. I mean, they're just so fun and so, helpful. They really, especially people who are not creative, giving you creative notes. It's just, we love taking more than anything. We actually got a copy of the notes that the studio gave Quentin Tarantino on Pulp Fiction. And so we'd like to read a few of those. I mean, it's just like notes on, it was so fun. It's like,
does it have to be a Royale with cheese? Like, I don't know if
I don't know if the cheese helps it in any way, shape, or form, and too many N-bombs.
Hey, what did he do?
He laughed.
So we kept looking down.
Oh.
He loves comedians, and he was so great. And I was so happy afterwards. He's like, I've been to dozens. And it was when he was, kind of going around on the circuit for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. That's when that movie came out. And when we were doing it, he's like, I've been to so many of these shows. And this was like by far my favorite of these award shows I've been to. And we were like, and thank God we didn't take a picture with him. He hates it when people are like, "Do you take a picture with me?" He hates it.
I didn't know that about it. I met him. I interviewed him on the old Late Late Show because he likes the Kung Fu stuff I used for 5 questions. But someone else came up with but he likes all those Kung Fu movies. But the one I said I rewatched recently is Jackie Brown. And I think Jackie Brown is underrated.
So good. So good.
That's the one I actually listed as my favorite along with Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. And I can't say that I don't want to offend people by saying I haven't seen Kill Bill because you guys will just probably leave if I tell you that. So I didn't say that. I haven't seen everything.
Worth seeing.
Maybe the best fight scene I've ever seen in a movie, like the most epic, lengthy.
Well, maybe you never saw Robbie Benson in one-on-one throw the ball against the wall and storm out.
All the way up with the red hot poker. Straight up with the red hot poker.
I can play anywhere I want. Up yours with the red hot poker. When did Robbie Benson turn into Clint Eastwood? Why am I doing it like that?
Whisper talking.
Do you guys have an opinion on Clint Eastwood? Do you like some of his movies? Go ahead.
The Enforcer is my favorite. The Enforcer.
And the original Dirty Harry. So my next door neighbor's name is Andy Robinson. He was the villain in the first Dirty Harry movie.
Not the main guy, not the crazy guy that got shot at the end.
Yeah.
That's his name? Guy. Oh, really?
Andy Robinson.
He was great.
Amazing. And he's gone on to do so much great acting. And he taught at USC as an acting. And he also was in Star Trek. Amazing guy. And so I love the old Clint Eastwood. I saw Gran Torino and I was like, you can't make movies anymore. I'm sorry. Like, I love you, buddy. But like,
you didn't like it, then you're saying.
I didn't like Gran Torino, but you know, a whole body of work. This guy's like in his 90s. Like he's made so many great movies.
It's interesting because Gran Torino, I liked it, but I like Clint. But I thought it was kind of simple. The weird thing is, I have a couple friends that are Hollywood agents, really prominent agents, and he's very liberal. And he was like, I love Gran Torino. I just love Gran Torino. So I don't know what it is. Like I watched The Mule. I like The Mule. I like Clint in general. Full disclosure, I know his ex-wife Dina. They were married for like 19 years. I've had dinner with Clint. She got him on my late night show.
Amazing.
So
Amazing. He's a legend.
I've had dinner with him 3 times. I'm sorry.
I will say
I wanted to say the number.
I mean, but I would argue, is there anybody in the current landscape of actors that occupies the space he occupied in the 70s and 80s? A guy who could be just a badass in the San Francisco police force, and then in the, as a Western guy. I mean, he just was incredible. His style was unbelievable.
He was very, very good looking. Interestingly, Ray Liotta, the late great Ray Liotta, said Clint Eastwood can't act. So some people don't think he can act. He has more of a presence or a persona, but he's doing something right. And I don't know if any of these guys, these big actors now in their 70s and 80s, will be directing and starring in movies. Like Unforgiven was one of his best, they say. So
amazing movie.
Yeah. So he's pretty special. I don't know how he pulls it all off. But Dirty Harry, I enjoyed those. I'll give you one that I like, In the Line of Fire. I watched that a lot. In the Line of Fire, Malkovich.
Yeah. Phenomenal. Malkovich. Malkovich is a perfect crazy bad guy. He's the best crazy bad guy you'll ever see, because he'll start to he'll like midway through a movie start to do a Croatian accent. You're like, wait a minute. Oh, this guy's so crazy. He's now like in another, he's like in another, they're like, wait a minute. You want a bad guy to be like, is he acting in another movie right now?
Wait. But then Clint Eastwood also pulled that energy into The Bridges of Madison County off.
Never saw it. How was it? Was it good?
He was amazing in it. He was amazing.
He was amazing in it. It's not my movie. I mean, it's not the movie that was designed for. I'm not going to go out and watch that movie and be like, "This is the movie for me." It wasn't for me. It wasn't directed, and it shouldn't be. Just like our comedy shouldn't be for everybody. That movie wasn't specifically for me. And kudos to him for being able to step outside of what he normally does and do that movie. Couple more movie things.
A movie I watch a lot over and over again. And I always talk about IMDb ratings. So the movies I watch over and over again.
8.0 or higher.
Those are the ones in my top 5. So all the Hitchcock movies are over 8. Yeah. But these other ones are in the 7s. Although I've always tell people The Firm is 6.8 and it should be a 7.1. But like In the Line of Fire, I think is a 7.4, 7.2 or 3. No Way Out, Costner. I watched that a lot. I like that kind of espionage. 3 Days of the Condor. You guys probably don't know that one with Robert Redford. Did you ever see that one?
I do. I did see that. It's kind of crazy. The Office. It's like an insane. That's when they were like, okay, here's a crazy concept, and just Redford's. Everything about him in that movie, the fact that all that crazy, like the shooting and the stuff that happens at the very beginning is very realistic. Like It doesn't feel like a movie.
Yeah, and I watch that a lot. The other, what do you guys think of Steve McQueen? You ever seen any of his movies?
I do love Steve McQueen. I mean, I think he
Bullet. Yeah.
Bullet's up in San Francisco. It's the famous car chase.
Great car chase.
Incredible.
Unbelievable.
I always found him to be kind of like, I put him in the category, not as good looking, but same vibe as a Paul Newman. You know what I mean? Kind of.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious you say that. So my friend from New York, Hank, he knows I like Clint, but he says, what about Steve McQueen? I go, well, Steve McQueen is unbelievable. And by the way, the thing about Bullet is, I was telling my brother, because he's going to try to rewatch it, I said it's slow moving, unlike 3 Days of the Condor, which was never slow. It was just great.
Never.
But Bullet is a little more slow moving, but it's shot in San Francisco. They show the Mark Hopkins Hotel in the Fairmont, and I get a kick out of it.
Sure.
But he brings up, I said, well, Steve McQueen. And then I said, but Paul Newman is a better actor than all these guys. The Verdict blows me out of the water, and I've rewatched it. Come on.
Come on. Slapshot. You want to talk about one of the greatest sports movies of all time?
I'm sorry.
Paul Newman, you've never seen it?
I've never seen it. Don't get mad at me.
I'm not mad at you. I'm not mad at you, but I'm actually going to turn it around and be like, I'm so excited that you get a chance to watch it, because Paul Newman is, and you're going to watch it, Paul Newman brings a level of gravitas. It's a minor league hockey team that is being threatened to be sold. And if you just had a lead guy who was a good looking guy who couldn't act,
right,
or even like a comedy guy, he pulls off all the comedy, but at the same time, he brings a level of the old player in the same way that Costner did in Bull Durham. I would argue that Paul Newman laid the blueprint for Costner he laid it down in Slapshot.
Yeah. I think I don't know why I'm not into sports movies as much as others. I think because I watch so much real sports that it throws me off. It disappoints people. I don't like disappointing people. I don't like disappointing the Sklar
We're not disappointed.
Brothers.
We're not disappointed. We're excited. We're excited.
We're
excited for you.
Yeah.
By the way, just an FYI, our old show Cheap Seats on IMDb. You want to guess the rating, Killer?
7.2. No, I know.
4.9.
8.7.
Wow.
Just saying.
I do. Yeah. The funny thing is I do it for movies, and the television shows are always like, the television shows like The Sopranos is like over a 9. So,
yeah, of course.
So the television shows are way up there. Except for something like my shows because I left early and blah, blah, blah. But who cares? That's when they don't count. Are you guys the kind of guys that are going to go see Oppenheimer at the theater? Are you those type of people?
So 2 friends of ours up in San Francisco saw the Barbie movie in the morning and Oppenheimer at night. They Barbenheimered it. They Barbenheimered it. And I feel like that might be it. And then our friend Ian Carmel
said one movie was about the apocalypse and the other one was Oppenheimer.
Right.
One was a bomb and the other was Oppenheimer.
Our friend Ian Carmel, who's a great comedian and wrote for Corden and whatnot, just a fantastic comedian, like really, really smart and great. I just heard him. I just saw a little thing he posted online about Oppenheimer. He's like, my initial thought, or I've always thought about the atomic bomb, that it was terrible. It killed so many people, and it, needlessly killed people at a time when we didn't need to do all that. And then I saw Oppenheimer, and I just saw how much work people put into this thing, and it really, how hard people worked on this bomb, and it just, it changed everything.
That's funny.
And so like, I don't know if that's what someone said there was like a montage of like, we got to get this thing together. Like an Oppenheimer montage of you give me the wrench and you give me the this. I don't know if I can watch that. I don't know.
All right. So listen, we've got to keep it moving. For the people at home, we had an interruption. My masseuse arrived a half hour early and she's waiting in the other room. We edited around that.
Sure.
Keep the back loose before I drink this weekend.
Hot stone
it up, man.
I know how you
back. Yeah. So now
walk on that.
We're going to do the Life Gorgeous quiz. These are simple questions, profound insights. We have 4 questions today. Well, the first one is, in fact, a movie question. Have you guys ever seen The Darkest Hour with Gary Oldman?
No. I need to see it.
That's fine.
I need to see it.
No, it's a funny question. A lot of my writer friends have not seen it. And he did win an Oscar for it. He plays Churchill, And I just find it interesting that some people have not seen it. Not a big deal. Not reading anything into it.
No.
2011.
Yeah, I'm the guy. I grew up an Anglophile and I was a Churchill fan. He was a very funny man and a great writer and great public speaker. And
by the way, there is The Darkest Hour. There's Darkest Hour. You're talking about Darkest Hour, the Churchill thing. There's The Darkest Hour as well. And that was Emile Hirsch and Olivia Thirlby in 2011. The Darkest Hour and Darkest Hour.
Next question. I have no opinion on Celine Dion. Do you guys have an opinion on her?
So I think even though she was a grown woman and she married someone the age of her grandfather, does he get, is that grooming? I don't know what grooming is or what it isn't, but like that guy, there's no way.
Can you groom a grown woman is Jay's question.
Can you groom a grown woman? No, I don't know. I don't understand what was the connection there? I never understood that. And I couldn't get past that into her music. Couldn't do it.
Titanic success, huge success, the woman. I mean, and her success on that song is, I would say, the metaphor is meeting someone at a wedding. You know, you meet them and they're all dressed up and everybody looks good at a wedding. They're in their nicest clothes. And then you go try and see them somewhere else. Maybe you're like, we should meet each other in real life and go see each other. And they're whatever they chose to wear is, you're like, I can't even spend 5 minutes with this person based on how they're presenting themselves in real life. That's what I think happened to Celine Dion.
And I ask this because it was just a random question where I realize there's so many aspects of pop culture that I could care less about. And I just don't, I say I live in my own magical world. I just want to, you guys know more about her than I do. The other thing is I have some friends that I had to talk about on my podcast recently where Taylor Swift is on tour. And this came up because some of my friends have, a 15-year-old daughter and they went to the concert and they were crying. The daughter was crying the entire time. So I know that she has an effect on people, the Swifties.
I'm going to the concert on August 5th. So next Saturday, a week from this Saturday, I will be with both of my daughters, 18 and 16. And we went through the thing and we got the tickets and it's going to be, I'm just trying to think about what I can do at that concert to keep myself busy.
Well, wait a second. My friend Hank in New York went and said, hey, she's talented. She's songwriter.
So talented. I think she's talented. And if it makes your kids happy, it's like one of those things that you're like, sure.
Do you know her songs or not?
I do. I do know handfuls.
2 to 5 of her songs. I can't name one Celine Dion song after the Titanic song. Not one.
Okay. Am I wrong to say, and this is where I try not to be too opinionated, that Manilow blows these guys out of the water, the most talent. He blows them all out of the water.
So
and I'm not even being serious, but I just like
I thought just to make you excited, I was in Palm Springs with my wife many years ago before my son was born. So this has got to be like 2005, circa 4, 5, 6. We are eating at a Mexican restaurant called El Mirasol. Who walks in? Barry Manilow and Suzanne Summers having dinner together.
I mean, what is this? Battle of the Network Stars, 1978? What's happening?
Where's Robert Conrad? What are we doing here?
I mean, Suzanne Summers, did you walk up to the table and be like, looks like Two's company here, folks? Or does Manilow's nose count as the
While
third?
She sat down waiting for a table, she was thigh mastering.
I'll take Elkie Summer to block.
Elkie Summer. It's a living. It's a living, guys. It's a living.
You guys are on. So funny. Manilow's nose. I can't keep this in the. Or you tell me if I can keep this in the podcast. So when Barry did the show, I went backstage to say hi to him, to meet him, and he looked up. He goes, "You're such a tall boy." Anyways, can I?
Well, see, of course you can keep it in there. I mean, the fact that he referred to you as a boy.
You're such a tall boy. Okay, next question. Have either of you put on a blazer and gone to a piano bar in the last 10 years? That's what Kilby does. There's a place in San Francisco. It's currently closed. It's the Huntington Hotel next to the Fairmont and the Mark Hopkins. It's called the Big Four Restaurant and Bar, named after four railroad barons, Leland, Stanford, Crocker, and it's a paneled restaurant bar, and they have a piano there, and that's where my favorite place to have a martini. Renovations, new ownership, opening in the next year.
Mm-hmm.
You guys,
we stayed at the Fairmont.
Okay.
I have put on a blazer and been inside of a piano bar, the Bel Air Hotel in Los Angeles. Amazing.
How many years ago?
This is like 2 or 3 years ago for my wife's birthday.
Cool.
And we were in the piano bar. First of all, unbelievable photographs of like Tina Turner, Mick Jagger, John Belushi, like
Tina Turner, may she rest in peace. Tina Turner, may she rest in peace. John Belushi, may she rest in peace. Who was the other person you mentioned?
Mick Jagger, may he rest in peace. I know he's not dead, but I just want him to get a good night's sleep.
Right.
So we're sitting in this room. I'm wearing a blazer, and the guy's playing piano, and he's unbelievable, fantastic, and we're loving every minute. And we chose to eat in the piano bar instead of the restaurant because of the ambiance and the style, and we can get a basket of fries and feel cool. And it was great.
You guys, you ever, when you do these podcasts, do you ever think, I got a story, I'm not going to tell it. Should I tell it? I'm not going to tell it. You just reminded me of two stories. I'll tell you quickly. I've told this story before, but the people don't care when I repeat, I guess. But I tell this story before. I may even have told you guys. Who knows?
The people.
I told it on Letterman once, but it was a quick story. But so you said Mick Jagger. So my dad was very opinionated about music. Mick Jagger, he looks like he's continually just vomited. With the mouth. He looked like he vomited. Blah 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 blah. So I'm in high school, we go to a barbecue with the neighbors, and my dad's 10 years older than all these people. And the fathers are like, hey, Willie Nelson's coming to the Twin Cities and blah, blah, blah. And I could tell my dad could care less. And then he takes his vodka. He goes, there, in the last 20 or 50 years, there have been 3 great voices in the last 50 years. So my dad was very funny and dramatic and all this kind of stuff. And they all stop and listen. Sinatra, Nat King Cole, Victimone. and they go so they listen. They goes, so we get home and Mom and I are like, why? What was the dramatic pause? What? I couldn't think of a third. Who did I say? Victimone.
Who did I say?
But Victimone actually was a very good singer. And he had a great voice, but he wasn't as Is that funny?
Top three of all time. So you got the first 2. You can't. That would be like your dad saying, "Best basketball players of all time." I'm ending the debate right now. Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Anderson Varejao. I don't know who else I'm saying right now. Who would be the third of that group?
Antoine Walker.
Kenny Skywalker.
Kenny Skywalker.
Yeah.
Okay.
Final question. One of my favorites. It's one of those questions I've now been asking everybody, and I may keep it on there forever because I like it so much. 3 favorite sandwiches of all time.
Oh my
3
God.
Favorite sandwiches.
I love this. Now, do we get to each do 3, or should we sort of collectively figure this thing out?
I want you to do 3. I want Jayson to do 3, and then I'll tell you my 3.
Okay. I can't wait to hear your 3.
My favorite sandwich of all time is we went to the University of Michigan. My oldest daughter is going to the University of Michigan this fall. We have a tremendous ties to Ann Arbor, where
you couldn't get into Wisconsin. You couldn't get into Wisconsin.
We did. We did get. I know we did get into Wisconsin. This kid got into Wisconsin. We got him. Anyways, we got him. So in Ann Arbor, there's a gourmet store that sells everything from cheese to meat to, 120-year-old balsamic vinegars. It's amazing. Jay and I lived in New York. We've been to Cittarella's. We've been to Balducci's. We've been to all these like wonderful sort of small market. Doesn't even come close to this place in Ann Arbor called Zingerman's. Zingerman's is the best. The best. And so there's a sandwich there. I want to say it's the number 27. I could be wrong. It's called the Pat and Dick's Honeymooner. Challah bread. Challah back, baby. As Jews, we got to love it. It's toasted perfectly brown. Honey cup mustard. It's both spicy and sweet.
Oh, yeah.
You get a little Swiss cheese on there, and then the best smoked turkey you've ever had in your entire life. This sandwich, my mouth is watering just talking about it. Jay, go for a sandwich, and we'll go back and forth. We'll go 1 for 1.
Here in Los Angeles, on Larchmont Boulevard, there's the Larchmont Village Wine and Cheese.
Unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
The Italian sandwiches, what do you put on it? What do you got?
So I get the number 4, which is the turkey sandwich on ciabatta. I sub out I don't get the tomato and the lettuce. Instead, I put on avocado. They have this spread. They put this Gruyere cheese on it. They don't melt it, but they put it on. And then they put on, this is the interesting thing, vinegar and olive oil on one side of the bread.
Yeah.
Close it up, slice it up, give you little cornichons with it. It's maybe my favorite. It's one of my top sandwiches in Los Angeles.
Yeah, that's a really popular place. They put on the mozzarella, the vinaigrette, sometimes a little ham, whatever you want, and they make those sandwiches. And there's a line at lunch on Larchmont.
Line. So I'm going to put that up there. You put that up. I'm going to say one that there's a crossover one. We're twins. We can't. We're shared DNA. So like, there's going to be some cross. We don't have all the same DNA, but there's going to be some crossover. Capriati's. I think it's not in Los Angeles.
There's a couple in LA. There's one in Vegas.
There's
a couple.
A bunch in Vegas.
Okay.
It's Jennifer Capriati's. There's weed in every sandwich. No, I'm kidding.
No, she started it when she was 15. Everything happened in her teens. No, so Capriati's makes a Thanksgiving dinner. What was it? It's called the Bobby. What is it called, Jay?
Called the Bobby. It's called the Bobby.
It's turkey and stuffing and cranberries. And
you got to have the cranberry. Yeah.
They roll it. They roll it. So it's like just this gorgeous roll. The bread is unbelievable. It's like a Thanksgiving dinner and a sandwich. And it is absolutely incredible. The next, my last one, people ask they ask us, well, they'll come up to us and they'll say, you're Jewish. And we say, that's not a great way to start a conversation. Strangers, but we say, what's your favorite deli sandwich ever? Now you got to understand, Jay and I lived in New York. We lived literally like down the street from Cantor's when we first moved to New York, and the Stage and Cantor's. We were right around all those, or not Cantor's. What was the name of it? Was there a Cantor's deli? There's a Cantor's deli in LA.
That's on Fairfax. I don't know. There are a bunch of delis in Manhattan. I just know the one.
Langers. Yeah, I mean, there's.
But the size of the sandwiches, you can't. You have to get a half sandwich, or you have to eat it in 2 days or something like that. So Ratner's was one, and it was a place in the Second Avenue deli. They're all wonderful, but the best hot corned beef sandwich I've ever had in my life was at a deli in downtown Indianapolis called Shapiro's, and the corned beef was melty. When I say it just melted in your mouth,
dissipate. It would just
disappear in your mouth. And the rye bread, phenomenal, was toasted so well that the crunch on the crust was just it was too perfect. Everything about this sandwich.
There's one downtown, and there's a Shapiro's downtown Indianapolis, and there's one in the suburbs. The one that's downtown in the shadow of Lucas Oil Field.
It was there before we were there before Lucas Oil was even there. So it just was. It's an amazing that hot corned beef sandwich at Shapiro. So those are my top 3. Jay, do you have more?
I got 2 more.
Okay.
I can't believe I'm saying this in a sandwich discussion.
Subway. Just kidding.
This place is gone. This place is gone now. I'm sad that it's gone. It used to be on. No.
Okay, it's gone.
Greenblatt's is gone. This place was on 5th Avenue across from the Flatiron Building in New York City.
Oh my God! You're absolutely right. I can't.
Eisenberg's. It was Eisenberg. It was one huge long counter. And we used to go there for lunch when I was working at ESPN Classic as a production assistant.
It used to be Classic Sports.
Some of your best work, by the way.
Thank you. Classic Sports. It wasn't even sold to ESPN yet. Classic. Brian Beadall, he owned Classic Sports, and we would go here for lunch. Walk over. It was The best tuna sandwich I've ever had in my life. The best.
Outside the box. Oh my God. How did they make it so good?
So here's how you know it's good. It's a long counter. It's a bunch of old guys working behind, not like attractive waitresses. Old guys who are eating the food as they're serving you the food. So they can't stop eating this food, and they work at this place all the time. The tuna sandwich was unbelievable. They toasted the rye so much that it was a big crunch. The tuna was not overdone. It wasn't too mayonnaisey. It was perfect. It got the flavor, but it wasn't too much. Great pickles on the side. I get an egg cream with it, which is chocolate milk with sparkling, while they kind of sparkled up a chocolate milk. I could sit there and do that every day. When we were there one time, we were walking out, we saw our buddy Rob Corddry's photo on the wall. He was a fan of the place. And we were like, how come we're not on the wall?
We're not on the wall.
And they're like, you want to be on the wall?
We're like,
yeah, we want to be on the goddamn wall. And so they took a picture with us. Next time we came in, we were on the wall.
Oh,
I love that place.
Felt great.
So that's my number two.
That's amazing. That's good stuff. You guys are taking this seriously, which I greatly appreciate.
Sure. Jay, what's your number three? Jay, what's your number three?
My number three is, and I don't know if I'm allowed to do this, but can we count a burger as a sandwich?
No.
It is. No.
I could accept. I guess someone could say a patty melt, but I'm not. But I don't want a burger as a sandwich.
Got you. That's totally fine. So I may go back to Capriati's for this one because I actually think the Bobby is good, but the Capistrami for me is even better. And here's what it is. It's pastrami, or essentially corned beef with a little bit of different, peppering in it, with Russian dressing, with coleslaw, in this very soft bread. And it makes and a little cheese. And it makes for, to me, one of the best sandwiches. We just had it recently when we were in Vegas and we were working for the UFC, and I had it and it was unbelievable.
So you guys, first of all, congratulations. You take it seriously. This is a question that I like. I can't wait to tell you my sandwiches. I like to see if there's an overlap. You guys are naming kind of specific sandwiches at certain places. I also believe in my heart of hearts that you guys probably have more sandwiches than I do. I don't eat a lot of carbs. So when I have a sandwich, it is a special occasion.
Sure. Occasion.
Also, I've heard you guys mentioned, I like rye bread. I adore rye bread. Here we go. Number one. Nobody mentioned it. Someone has mentioned it. Michael Costa from The Daily Show mentioned it.
Love him
recently.
Love him.
The Reuben. I love sauerkraut. I have a Reuben. I'll have a pastrami Reuben or a corned beef. I'll have it on rye or pumpernickel. I just love them. I love them. I love Reubens. The tang of the sauerkraut with everything else.
Langers? Have you had Langers in LA? The Reuben
I don't
Langers?
think I have. People have told me to. I used to get it at Greenblatt's. It's closed. Sure. I used to go to Greenblatt's. I love it.
Langers.
You want me to go to Langers? I'll go to Langers.
Makes a great Reuben. You deserve a Langers Reuben.
Do you have an opinion if I should do pastrami or corned beef, or you don't care? Or what do you think?
I like the corned beef at Langers, but if you like a little spice, the pastrami's got a little pepper to it. So we prefer corned beef, but I don't want to tell you what you like.
Okay. Number two, this is my only cold sandwich. I'm doing a cold sandwich now, even though it's on rye that's toasted. I'm not apologizing. I've always liked chicken salad. I like chicken salad sandwiches. I like chicken salad with walnuts and grapes. They can have a lot of different things in them. You can have apples in them. I like it with the cheddar cheese. I'll do different cheese. I like red onions. I like red onions.
Red onions. That is a commitment.
Say it loud. Say it proud. Red onions.
I love it.
Love chicken salad.
And that's not even... Just because you like red onions doesn't mean you support what Russia's doing in Ukraine. Okay, let's just separate those two. Let's keep the hot side hot, Kilborn, and keep the cool side cool.
The third one is controversial. I've said it to a few people. My friend Hank listed it as his number one. So I
thought chicken salad was controversial.
Yeah.
So
it won't be as controversial because Jayson was in the ballpark. Tuna melt with cheddar.
I will never besmirch someone who said they're going to go for tuna melt. If you can get it at a good place, and like Jay said, this Eisenberg's, I wish it was still around. that tuna is the greatest thing I've ever had in my entire life. You melt some cheese. Now, what is your cheese of choice on that tuna melt?
I like cheddar, but I'm such a cheese fan. I can do a good American. I don't really want that. I can do Swiss, but I do cheddar. I'm a cheddar guy.
Could you do a Munster?
Absolutely. I like different cheeses.
Make the tuna American again. Is that what you say? Make the tuna American again.
Oh, man. There was a guy like Ryan Russillo was on, and I asked him this question, and he was like, I think he did like a meatball sandwich or a chicken parm sandwich. I don't know.
Chicken parm's good.
And I said tuna melt, and he's like, well, you can't go back to the office after that. He was worried about his breath or something. I mean, I wasn't talking about during work. I'm just saying sandwiches. It's
He's actually talking about the practical application. Also, Kilborn 6'6". Are you 6'6", 6'7"? Not a lot of people up in that airspace. You can breathe up. You can have whatever you want.
I'm a muscular 6'5", but I can play 5'11".
You can play 5'11".
Gentlemen, that was fun. I apologize for the masseuse in the middle of it, but we'll see you guys. I'll see you guys soon because I'm going to be. I'll be a guest on your Romy thing. You're
be a guest on our Rome
Jim
thing.
Rome.
Filling in for Jim Rome next week, and would love to have you do our podcast, our weekly sports podcast, View from the Cheap Seats, which we could just continue this conversation on. And I'm going to say this. I think you, me, and Jay need to grab a steak and the best goddamn Caesar salad in the world at Dan Tana's. You, me, and Jay get a booth there and hang out. And if you're down to do that, if you want to go out and do that, we'll get you a martini.
I know people at Dan Tana's, just to let you know.
So do we.
So we
Wonderful.
will. The valet will be half price. The valet will be.
You'll see me circling around the block for most of the time. I'll go by the Troubadour. I'll go over down Little Santa Monica.
Do you guys know Mike Gibbons?
Love.
Bring him.
Let's get him.
Bring him.
He's okay. So he's very funny. So we were doing the show. I had him obviously on camera. We go to Dan Tana's. And then we leave and we're going to the valet. We're both, and he's out there first. Then I walk up and he goes, "Go away. Someone recognizes me. Go away."
Great bit. Hilarious. Gibby. God love him. God love him.
Anyway, thank you guys. I'm going to now say goodbye to you, and then I have to say goodbye to the audience. But I appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Thanks, Killer.
That's our show, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. And remember, young people, I'm proud of you.